I'm Michelle Mankey here with GatorCountry.com. Derek Tyson and Thomas Goldcamp are here to discuss the Gator game against Kentucky this weekend. It'll be on Saturday, hosted on ESPN at 7 p.m. Thomas, when the Gators get the ball, what do you expect to see on their offense this weekend?
Well, I don't expect to see a whole lot of significant changes out of the Florida offense this week. Florida's really made its money on offense by attacking the flats with Chris Rainey and Jeff Demps, letting those guys get the ball in space and then make plays with their feet. I think Florida will stick to that strategy. As offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss has said a couple times, they're going to do whatever works until the defense stops it. Now, it'll be a little different this week because Kentucky's got a more physical, more experienced front seven than Tennessee had last week, and the Wildcats could really give Florida some issues in the flats. If that happens, I'm interested to see if Florida's wide receivers are able to take advantage and catch some passes a little further down the field. They only had 3 catches against Tennessee, and that's an area that is really a little bit concerning if you're a Florida fan.
Derek, do you expect to see the same, or do you have different thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Thomas, but also, a stat that really jumped out to me was Kentucky cornerback leads the team in sacks with 3 sacks on the year. That tells me they want to bring pressure off the edge. They want to bring that corner blitz. What happens is a safety will replace him, and so you'll have one-on-one matchups between safeties and receivers. So Florida could look to take advantage of that and maybe hit some deep balls over the top. But the key for Florida is going to be you're going to have to keep an eye on Danny Trevathan, their linebacker. He leads the SEC in tackles and is a guy that's all over the field. He's actually from Leesburg too. So, but Florida will have to keep an eye on him. If they can contain him, I think they have a chance to put up some big numbers Saturday.
Right now, we'll talk about Kentucky's offense and the Gators' defense. Thomas, what do you expect to see from Kentucky's offense this Saturday?
Well, quite frankly, there hasn't been much to see on the Kentucky offense. They've really struggled moving the ball, and they've been a little bit nicked up on the front. Their offensive line's a little banged up, and I think Florida may be able to take advantage of that a little bit this week. The Gators haven't quite generated the type of pass rush that they'd like yet, and I think that's something that they'll really focus on this week is getting to the quarterback. Kentucky's given up a league-high 12 sacks, so I think you'll see Florida in the backfield quite a bit.
Derek, what do you think?
Well, along those lines, because of that pressure, I think Florida's going to have a chance to get some interceptions. Kentucky is 108th in the country in passing offense. That's obviously they're not doing very well right there. But Florida had a chance to get some interceptions last week. Jelani Jenkins dropped some, Marcus Roberson dropped some. So they're going to need to take advantage of those. And I think because of that, they'll have some big opportunities, maybe even return one for a touchdown this week.
Earlier this week, there's been some controversy on the special teams. Derek, what's the latest?
Well, a Kentucky reporter earlier this week accused Florida of basically playing dirty on special teams. Florida's blocked some kicks against Kentucky, obviously, in the last few years, and they're accusing the defensive tackle, Dominic Easley, of pulling the guy that's over Chris Rainey out of the hole and allowing Chris Rainey to go right up the middle and block the kick. And so that's what they're accusing Florida of. And Thomas had a chance to listen to Muschamp on his conference call today. What did he have to say?
Well, Will Muschamp, frankly, didn't really want to talk about it. He basically slammed the door shut on any notion that the Gators are cheating on that play. He asked the reporter who asked him, was there a flag thrown? And obviously there wasn't. Steve Shaw, the SEC's director of officials, has actually commented on it and said that there are 2 officials looking for a pull and shoot, is what they call it, where a defensive tackle will pull his guy inside, creating a lane for the fast guy. They said that they had 2 officials looking at that. He's reviewed all 4 of Florida's punts against Tennessee, didn't see it. So expect the Gators to do the same thing against Kentucky this week.
Now we'll take a look at the players to watch. Derek, what are you thinking?
Well, on offense, I think Frankie Hammond Jr. is a guy to keep an eye on. He hasn't had any catches in the last 2 games. Coming out of fall camp, Muschamp said he was the most consistent receiver on the team, and he hasn't really shown anything so far, whether it's because of the line or the quarterback not getting him the ball or the wrong route, whatever. He hasn't gotten the ball. So I think he's going to come out and have a solid game. Then defensively, I think Marcus Roberson's going to have a breakout game. He's been real close to getting that first interception of his career, and I think he's, with the pressure that the defensive line brings, I think he's going to get it this week.
And Thomas, who do you think is going to have a good game this Saturday?
Well, on offense, a guy I'll be looking at is tight end Gerald Christian. Jordan Reed is still listed as questionable this week by Will Muschamp with a lower body injury. So I don't know if we're going to see him this week, and if he's out, that's going to give Christian more opportunities to make plays. Christian's been working at both tight end spots, more of the motion tight end, and then as well as the primary tight end. So I think we may see him targeted a little bit more, especially if Kentucky does get a little more aggressive in the flats. On defense, the guy I'd look at is Jelani Jenkins. He's been phenomenal the past few weeks. Had probably his best game of his career against Tennessee. Was jumping all over the out routes. But of course, Florida fans will remember that he dropped a couple interceptions, and he'll be looking to clean that up this week. Players have been joking all week that he's been working with a jugs machine to improve his hands. So.
Yeah. Now we're going to look at some predictions for the game. Derek?
I think Florida has too much talent. I think they're going to overwhelm Kentucky. I think Florida wins 38-6.
Thomas, what about you?
Well, Derek took my score prediction, but I think it'll be a little bit more of a test for Florida on offense. I don't know that's necessarily going to slow them from putting up a lot of points on the board. I still think they score a couple touchdowns, work out some of those red zone kinks that they've had, and I don't think Kentucky will be able to score a touchdown against Florida this week.
Remember to stay tuned to GatorCountry.com this entire week for complete coverage of the game. For Gator Country, I'm Michelle Mankey with Derek Tyson and Thomas Goldcamp.